58 people were gunned down by a lone gunman at a music festival. Over 500 more were wounded when 64-year-old retired accountant Stephen Paddock opened fire from the 32nd floor of a hotel on country and western revelers. Flags have been ordered to fly at half-mast, and Trump says he will meet with the families of the victims. For more on this, we are now joined via Skype by our correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease. Sherwin, thank you so much for joining us. Now, do we have any fresh information on why the attacker took such steps?
Well, that is the focus of the investigation now. The police are trying, Lulu, to uncover what the motive might have been. We've seen the terrorist group ISIS claim responsibility, claiming that Stephen Paddock was one of their foot soldiers. This has been debunked by the FBI, by local law enforcement in Nevada. They have found no links to an international terrorist network. This was a lone wolf, as we've become accustomed to with some of these attacks in the United States. What they will be sifting through now is his family history, his criminal record. To date, we have found no evidence of a criminal record. We have found no evidence of a problem with mental health, which is sometimes one of the issues that come to the fore in attacks like this. So police really working constructively to pin down why he might have acted in this way. Was it something to do with his relationships? Did he have a gambling problem? Remember, he checked in to the hotel from where he positioned himself to fire on those concert goers. He had checked in on September 28th. So what sort of tab did he run up at the casino? These are all unanswered questions. But right now, we do not understand why he did this, and this is what police are focused on.
Just continuing on that, we saw his brother Eric speaking on a clip earlier that we played earlier. The fact that he seemed like he was getting very frustrated with the journalists who kept asking him why his brother would do such a thing, and he seemed to lose control and say, "I don't know. We're also trying to figure this out."
Well, I think we forget, in the 24-hour news cycle that some of the victims here might be related to the suspect who perpetrated these crimes, notwithstanding the fact that there are hundreds of injured, 515 people in hospital at this hour. Some 58 people have been killed in what is now being called the worst mass shooting in the United States history. But spare a thought for the family of the suspect. They weren't aware he was going to do this. They can't understand it. I mean, I think to quote what the brother was saying is that they're dumbfounded, and this feels like an asteroid has hit their home. So they don't know, they don't have the answers, but that is the first port of call where investigators go knocking. Apparently, he's phoned the brother's phones. All the phones in the house started ringing apparently at the same time as Nevada law enforcement officers were reaching in at his home in Orlando, Florida. And let's not forget the irony is that Orlando, Florida, of course, was the venue last year of the Pulse nightclub shooting that was then described as the largest in American history. 49 people killed there, some 58 injured. So we've been down this path before, Lulu. In this instance, just a bit more severe.
What is the government doing with regards to the shootings in terms of state laws with regards to gun ownership and people acquiring firearms? It seems like it's very easy to get a firearm in the US now, and people randomly shooting people. And now the targets in terms of the concerts, where there's a number of people. Where is it going wrong?
Well, the big issue here, Lulu, is that it isn't going anywhere anytime fast. We look back a few years ago to the Sandy Hook killing, where elementary school children were mowed down by someone that was later described as mentally ill, and everyone thought that the heart-wrenching pictures of seeing kids bloodied on a classroom floor were going to push lawmakers in this country, particularly at the federal level, into action. We haven't seen that. This was also a big election issue, certainly framed by the Republicans, the way they framed Hillary Clinton as being, as someone that wanted to take away your Second Amendment rights, which is the amendment that allows you to carry arms in this country. So, and we also heard questions being posed to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the press secretary of the current president. Is it time to start talking about gun policy? And she said, no, this is a time to talk about mourning. This is not a time for political expediency in the United States. It's a time for Americans to come together. So you're already seeing the narrative coming from the White House that they don't want to talk about gun policy. They don't want to talk about gun ownership at this time. They want prayers, they want thoughts, and they want American values to come to the fore, but not fundamentally dealing with the question that you're raising.
Now, Sherwin, we saw the Islamic State militant group coming out and claiming responsibility for this attack that took place earlier. Now, with regards to this, has this been substantiated? The fact that Stephen had converted to Islam a few months ago, is there more information on that, or are they just taking chances and trying to put themselves out there?
I mean, it feels like a bit like if you and I were to claim responsibility for this stuff. It's easy to claim responsibility when you're hundreds of miles or hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. The police are saying that they have found no links to terrorism. What they're doing is they're checking his online social media accounts. Does he have a Facebook account? Does he have a Twitter account? They speak to the family. They look at places that he frequented. They're going to be sifting through the surveillance footage from the hotel where he was staying at. It's not that hard to piece this together. But right now, police are saying from their preliminary investigations, what ISIS is saying is wrong. What ISIS is saying is incorrect. There are no links at this current time that they can find between any international terrorist group and Stephen Paddock, who is the suspect that killed himself before police stormed that hotel room door.
We've also reported the fact that flags will be flown at half-mast, and now reaction from the people of Las Vegas and America as a whole, because this affects the whole country. What's the reaction been like with people on the ground in Las Vegas?
I think this has been a traumatic event. I mean, whether you're talking about what happened in Orlando last year, whether you're talking about Sandy Hook in Connecticut a few years ago, this would have been a traumatic event for many of the hundreds of thousands, of the tens of thousands that were there. I mean, if you look at some of the pictures of the scene in the aftermath, the Mandalay Hotel and Resort towers above this open space where this gunman would have had a very clear vantage shot, a crowd packed together in a square, 22,000 strong, and he had 10 rifles. This is what police are telling us. 10 rifles in that hotel room. And if you listen to the video and if you watch the scenes unfolding on some of that amateur video, you hear this crackling in the distance while someone is performing on stage. Remember, this was a country music concert. And so people, initially because it's Vegas, they thought perhaps this was fireworks, because perhaps it's part of the performance. And as it dawned on them, you see the atmosphere immediately change. Chaos, people trying to get out, while gunfire continues to crackle in the distance. And the real point here is that how did this man take 10 rifles, automatic rifles, up to his room in what should have been a very secure casino, hotel, and resort? So there are a number of questions around that. Automatic gunfire. How did he manage to injure 515 people? How did he manage to injure 58 people? These are some of the extraordinary numbers that we're dealing with here, and one gunman as the perpetrator.
Now, Sherwin, with regards to security in some of the hotels, is it raising a question as to the people that go maybe to those hotels, or will this create a situation where people are going to have to be searched and luggage being searched going forward? And considering the fact that Las Vegas is a destination for people to have fun, what does this do to the whole state?
I mean, so the question essentially is do we begin to see airport-type security at all venues? If we go to a concert, if we go to the theater, if we're booking to a hotel, that becomes a very expensive exercise. So I'm not sure what sort of capacity various hotels and resorts, the extent to which they're prepared to go. But it's certainly something they will look at, particularly at casinos, for example, where they're moving large amounts of money. You see the surveillance cameras on casino floors. There is a great deal of surveillance capability at these venues as it is. But then it becomes a question of what sort of state, what sort of police state are citizens going to be satisfied with in this country? Do you want to then check into a hotel where you have your bag screened and your body searched before you are granted access. That becomes a very expensive exercise, and I think probably a bridge too far for many hotel businesses in this country, if not around the world.
Now, Sherwin, very quickly, with regards to South Africans, we've seen reports that there have been no South Africans who have been reported there or who are known to be there or having been hurt or anything of the sort. Anything from your side?
We haven't heard anything. We've been in touch with the embassy, both in Washington and the consulate that is leading South Africa's efforts in terms of identifying any victims, South African victims in Nevada. That's the consulate in Los Angeles. We have not heard any reports of any South African injuries, any fatalities. A friend of a friend, let me put it that way, was in the region, and I've reached out to him on social media. He has not responded yet, but he did say that he was safe. So at this point, we don't know. But let me just tell you how this would work. They would send someone, a consular representative, to the scene of the crime. What they then do is they go into the different hospitals. Because there might be a South African that might be on life support, that isn't able to contact loved ones or the next of kin. So what they then try and do is they engage with law enforcement. They go to all the hospitals to see physically if there are any South Africans there. So I imagine something similar is underway right now.
Sherwin, we'll have to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for joining us. That was our U.S. correspondent, Sherwin Bryce-Pease, joining us there via Skype. Now, the special